Hi, welcome to Mr. Otter Studio. Today I'm going to show you how to do a Valentine's Day themed chalkboard illustration or a love themed illustration. Some of you have been asking for tips for making chalkboard drawings and illustrations, and so I'm just going to show you step by step how I like to do it. The first thing I want to do is just talk about some of the supplies I'm using really quickly. I'm going to be using some of these chalk markers, and these are made by Chalkola. I'm going to be using these for some of my brighter, more saturated areas, and then I'm just going to be using just sidewalk chalk and just chalkboard chalk for my other parts. And the first thing we're going to do is lay out a grid on our chalkboard. So for this part, you want to draw really lightly because this part will be erased. So we're just going to draw a square in the middle. And it's hard for me to kind of find the middle here, but so draw a square in the middle, and then you're going to divide it into 4. So divide it into quarters. And then we're going to draw a box under it, like a long rectangle under it, and a long rectangle above it. And then we're going to divide these rectangles into 2 rectangles, but the top one, in this rectangle, the top part will be a little bit taller than the bottom part. So I'm talking about this thickness and this thickness. And then on the bottom piece is going to be taller than this top piece. So like that. Because what we're going to be writing in here is all we need is love is all we need. So that's what's going in these areas. And I just like to grid it out first just to make sure it's in proportion. And I'm just going to be switching back and forth from that side to this side just to try to make sure it stays. Because when I draw from the side, things get really warped. Let's just go ahead and write love in first, and then we'll fill in the letters up here and then down here. Okay, now let's just write these letters in, and remember, we're going to erase most of these lines, so we're going to draw a little bit lighter, and I'm going to use my red. Since that's what I'm actually going to be using for the main thing, I'm just going to use it really lightly. So there's an L in this square, O, V, E. So let's start with the L, and these have these really big serifs, so it's just like a line that comes over, and then it actually comes in a little bit before we go down. So there's a space right there, then it kind of comes out at the bottom, and then it's going to come all the way over to the edge, and this is the top of the V, the L. It almost comes halfway up through the middle of this, and then we get this sharp angle come in, and then we come back over, and it's really thick right here, and definitely thinner on the bottom. So there's our L, and then the O, it actually works really well having it in this square, even though I can tell this is a little long. It's okay, it doesn't need to be perfect, but this is kind of how I like to make it. I like to make a long triangle here by kind of drawing a line here, kind of drawing a line here, and then I'm making shorter, so these are like long triangles, and then I'm making shorter triangles in this bottom corner and then in this top corner. So I'm just making a long arch here, a long arch here, and then these shorter arches here. And then just kind of round it off so it looks more like a circle. And then it's thinner on the top and bottom than it is on the sides. So we're just gonna indicate where the top is and then where the sides are. So the sides are pretty thick. So you're just drawing like a long kind of hot dog shape in the middle. And then for the V, we're going to make the top of it just right under the L, and bring it down to the middle of our square and then up to the side over here. And this thickness is the same thickness as the L. So we're just going to like kind of match that line. You can draw all the way through if you want. And then this side's pretty thin. And then the E steps over a little bit. So it doesn't start right at the edge of this square, actually comes in just a little bit, and maybe even more than a little bit. The top is pretty simple, and then we have these 2 really long sides that jet up, and this one, they don't meet, but they come pretty close to meeting in the middle. And then this thickness, again, is the same thickness as about those thicknesses. And we need the middle piece, so we're just going to draw a little tube coming out, and then the top and the bottom. And there we have love. So we've drawn that in, and we kind of know where it is. If you might need to look at it from different angles, like I might need to. This is definitely stretched out, and I think it's because I'm drawing at an angle. So I'm just going to bring it in a little bit. This is where you can fix things. Now after you get the main parts of this letter in, what I would do is take your damp cloth And this is what I like to do just to kind of like help see my lines better and not get confused later on. I'll just get my damp cloth and kind of erase some of the lines that I used to draw it with. Okay, now while those lines are drying, let's go ahead and draw the top text and the bottom text. So this is helpful when you want to fit like a sentence in an area and you want to make sure you have room for all the letters. So we're writing all you need in the top. So how many letters does that have? All has 3 letters, you has 3 letters, and need has 4 letters. So 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 4 is 10, and then we have 2 spaces. So that's 12, I guess, sections or characters, counting the spaces that we need. So let's just divide this in half, and then divide it each side in half again, and then each one of these parts needs to be divided in 3. And maybe you'll decide like, oh, this is too tall. Like, I don't want my letters to go all the way. That seems like a little bit weird to me. So you can kind of change the size of your letters right now and then just kind of write it in. So I'm going to write mine in capital letters. You can write yours however you want. And you can make your letters all fancy. And then we just have is right here. So that's nice and simple. And we can line it up kind of with the middle of our boxes. And then we'll come down to the bottom and we're going to do the same thing. So all you need is going to be in the bottom box, and then is above it. So we're kind of just mirroring it in the bottom. So divide the bottom rectangle in half, divide each section in half, and then each one of these boxes we'll divide into 3 with 2 lines. And I'm going to make it a little bit shorter again because it just, those would be really tall letters and I don't like how that would look. And then I'm just going to write it again. And so now we have the basics, and now let's go ahead and erase some of these lines we used to draw it with, just with your damp cloth. The nice thing is if you draw these in with the markers, you can actually just erase, take a dry cloth and erase the dry chalk off, and your marker lines will actually stay, which is awesome. So now we kind of have it laid out, and now what we're going to do is we'll make some of these letters brighter, and then we will use the chalk markers to put like some kind of border around this. I might use my chalk marker to just outline love. Okay, now after we get the letters in, I'm just gonna go ahead and clean up a little bit more. And then you can fill in your letters however you want. You can just take your chalk and fill them in, or some people like to fill them in with like lines, you know, or you could just fill it in with the chalk. So now you can go ahead and stylize these letters, you know, make them a little bit darker, a little bit brighter. You can thicken up one side if you want. Like I'm just gonna thicken up maybe the lines on the left. And some of you are really, really good with writing letters, and I am definitely not. Some of you like to do decorations, and you can do like some really cute Valentine's decorations. Like I'll just draw some here and then erase them. Like you can draw a heart, and that's hopefully more even than mine. And you can kind of put like a banner that wraps around it. Just thicken it up on the sides and then just add like the other part of it here. And then you kind of erase these parts out, and you can write love or whatever you want, like on the heart. I'm just going to show you some simple illustrations you can do, and then you can kind of fill it in with whatever you like, because we all like kind of different things, you know? To make a border, like you can use just normal lines. You can use like the vine look, or you could use hearts. You can use dots. You can use arrows, you know, like Cupid's arrows. You can put those together if you want. So those are just some simple illustrations you might want to put around it. And then I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a border around this one, and I'm going to be using the markers to do it, just so it's like a little bit brighter and bolder. So I'm just going to be doing like a flower, like with some hearts on the top. And then I'll grab my green. And you can see the nice thing with the markers is that they're just really bright and opaque. I'm going to be using the chalk markers for this part just so it's a little bit brighter and bolder. And then you can design it again. You can put like the little vines on it if you want, or you could make these into hearts. You can just put lines or dots. I mean, this part is very much what you want to do. So I think I'm just going to do little vines just because I feel like I've got probably too many hearts. Okay, and then if you want to make it even more ornate, I'm going to put the little heart on the bottom really quick. You want to add like flowers like coming out of these, maybe heart flowers. Let's just grab pink for that maybe. Kind of just depends on you and your style and like how you want it to look. So anyway, you can keep going, you can add leaves, you can do whatever you want, but I just thought I would show you this really quick Valentine heart. Hopefully that was helpful and you learned something in this video today. I hope you have a happy Valentine's Day. One thing to remember about love is it's actually a verb, right? It's not really a thing, it's a verb, it's an action. So remember that and have a wonderful day.